Hey, it's Joe. How's it going? Wow, it's been a while since I did a video. Today I thought we'd try to build a morphing vowel filter. Sounds like fun, huh? We're on version 0.3.22 of the firmware. First thing I wanted to look at here was the system settings. There is an attribute in here called displayed value for unit control readouts, and the choices are bias and actual. I'm going to make sure that I start out with this set to actual. The reason is I'm going to hook up some external offsets here, and after I'm done kind of dialing things in, I want to be able to remove those offsets and set the parameters to the values that they were with the offsets, and this way I'll be able to see what those values were. So to get started, we're going to insert my favorite unit here, the custom unit, and we'll just rename Sweet Pickle to, I'm going to call this VB for Vowel Builder. Let's see, so we will, what we're going to do, we're going to have signal flowing into this thing from the left-hand side, but I'm going to need multiple copies of that signal. There's a couple ways to do that. One is to modulate a custom control within the custom unit. But I think I'm actually going to take a different approach here today, and we're going to kind of capture a sample and use sample players to play that back. So for starters here, let's give us some signal to work with. I'm going to insert some white noise. And we'll just go ahead and mute the speakers right out there. Okay, so we'll come down inside the custom unit. Like I said, we're going to be boosting some frequencies here, so that's kind of how we're going to make these vowel formants. We're going to take specific narrow bandwidth frequencies and boost them up a little bit. I want to give us some headroom to work with here. You can see this white noise, for example, is a full-on signal. So if I try to boost some frequencies, we're probably just going to run out of room. So the first thing I'll do is put a limiter here. And we'll bring the post down to, I don't know, maybe 8 dB to start with. Sounds good. We can go ahead and collapse that. And the next thing I'll do is insert a recorder. So we'll grab this feedback looper, and I need to create a buffer for it. And a very short buffer I think will do here. Let's go with, I don't know, 25 milliseconds should be plenty. We're just going to be kind of grabbing not single cycles, but we're going to be grabbing, audio waveforms as they come in. So we'll do that. We'll engage it. We'll punch it. We don't want any feedback here. We're going to roll that down to 0. We do always want to be recording just the wet signal and not layering stuff on top. So we'll set the wet to 1.0, and we'll zero out the crossfade. We don't need any of that. I think that's good with the looper. I'm going to go ahead and collapse that unit down. Last thing I want to do here, I actually don't want the signal to appear right here, and you can see it's kind of passing through. So I'm going to insert, this is a pretty new unit here, the linear Unipolar VCA. And I'm just going to do that to kind of block my signal as it comes out of the looper. We'll go ahead and collapse that. Next thing I want to do is insert a mixer channel. And let's call this one, we'll zero that out. We're just going to call this F1. Let's see here. So what do we got going here? We don't have anything coming out just yet. We can use this to adjust that level out and mix some of the dry signal back in, I believe. Yep. Okay. Let's go ahead and zero this back out for now. So the next thing I want to do is come down inside of F1 here. This is going to be my first frequency. The chart I'm using, and I'll link to this chart, actually has 3 frequencies that you use to kind of shape out this vowel formant. I'm just going to use 2 of them in the interest of time here to kind of make this video go faster. The first thing we need to do is get the signal to appear here. So I'm going to insert a sample player. And I don't need to do any speed or speed changes or pitch shifting, so I'm just going to pick the raw player. And we'll go in here and we will, the play duration, we're going to set this to repeat. We just want this to cycle over and over. And we'll select from pool and just select our little short buffer here. And we can turn the crossfade off. And I think that's all good there. We should be able to have that reproducing the sound that's coming out. So I'll just unmute my speaker here for just a second, confirm that, but I think we're good. Yep, looks good. All right, so let's jump down inside here. I'll go ahead and smush that down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a bandpass filter. So we don't actually have a bandpass filter in this version of the firmware yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a low pass and a high pass and put those in a series to build a bandpass. So we'll grab the low pass first, low pass filter, and we'll set the F0 or the corner frequency here, and I'm just going to look at this chart that I found on the internet. We're going to try to do the ah sound first, like as in hot. And the first 2 frequencies it has listed are 730 and 1090. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to set the F0 to 730. And we'll hold down shift and we'll just dial it in just exactly. And I'm going to take this Q setting here and I'm going to raise this a little bit. I don't actually want this to go into like self oscillations or anything, but I'm going to raise it up a bit so that we get a nice peak there. So let's try, I may be able to push it a little higher than that. Let's try like 4, 5. I'm just going to unmute here. I'm going to make sure I'm not getting any self oscillations. Yeah, I don't think I hear anything. I think we're good with 4 or 5. Okay, now we want to insert a high pass filter with basically the same settings right after that. So just to make this go quick, here's a little trick. I'm going to copy this ladder filter, and I'll paste a copy of itself. And this is pretty new. There's this replace function now. This is neat. So I can replace this, and I can come back down here to filters and pick the ladder high pass. And you can see because F0 is over here, we've got an F0 and we've got a Q, they're the same. So even though I replaced this, it kind of kept my same values here. So I've got 730 for F0 and 0.45 for Q. So that's kind of cool, huh? So that gives me a really nice strong peak there. Last thing I want to do is come here and put another linear unipolar VCA in here. And that's going to block off my signal. And I want to assign this. I've got in here an A1. I've got an offset coming off of a mutable instruments frames. So I'm just going to assign that to A1. And we'll set the gain. We'll just set that up to 1. And I should be able to crank that up and down. It's interesting that we're not, we're still getting some signal through there. And yet I don't hear anything, but I can see it on the scope. But I guess we're okay there. Okay, so I think that covers the first band. So we need at least 2. Ideally, I guess we'd have 3, but let's just use 2 for now. We're going to make a copy of the F1 mixer. And we'll paste it in here. And we'll rename it. And call this one F2. I must have did something wrong there. F2, enter. There we go. So what we want to change the cutoff frequency here, F0, and my second band is at 1190. So we'll change that on the high pass as well as the low pass. And I also want to come over here to the VCA, and I'm going to change my offset, and I'm going to use B1, which is just a second knob coming in and off of the frames. So, rolling back up here, what I should be able to do, I've got these two peaks at the cutoff frequencies that I set, and I should be able to kind of boost those by changing these offsets. So let's try that. And that seems to be working pretty well. So at this point, let's go ahead and bring our dry signal back up. So we'll change that to 1. And as I adjust these knobs, you can kind of see that I am boosting up these peaks at certain points. So that's exactly what I wanted to be able to do. White noise was good for kind of viewing this on the scope, but I don't think white noise is going to be very good for actually shaping these vowel sounds. So what I'm going to do is come back over here and replace that, or I guess put after it an aliasing saw. Let's bring the frequency up to, let's set it at A110. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to unmute my speakers, and I am just going to fiddle with these offsets until I can kind of hear that ah or hot, ah as in hot sound pop out. And I may also bypass this vowel builder unit once in a while just to kind of compare the dry signal with what I've got to make sure I'm getting a good ah sound. So I'll be quiet while I do that, but you can listen to the result. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Don't want the video to run too long, so we're going to roll with it, and we'll call that my ah sound. So I think what I'll do, this vowel builder right here, I'm going to reuse this. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this as it is right now with it hooked up to the offsets. So we'll save preset, and I already created a little folder here, VF, for vowel filter, and we'll just create a new file, and we'll call this VB, VB for vowel builder. And now that that's saved, what I want to do is I want to remove these offsets and actually save this as the ah sound. So we're going to go back in and kind of hard code what we had the offsets at before. So we'll come in here, we'll go into F1, and we can see that this the value, the actual value of this VCA is at 0.406. That's with the A1 offset. So I'm going to remove the offset. I'll just clear that out. And then I'll actually set the bias to 0.406. And I'm going to do the same thing on F2. We'll come down inside here. This is 0.489, so we'll clear B1. And we'll set this to 0.489. And there we go. So now my offsets are gone. I'm just going to make sure this still sounds right. Still sounds good. So let's save this again now. Save preset. But this time we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call this ah, and ah as in hot. Okay. So now we've got that saved. I'm going to load back the VB preset, the Vowel Builder. So let's load that back. That'll have my offsets in it. And so now we're going to try to make another vowel sound so that we can morph between the two. And let's see here. I haven't tried. Let's try E as in beat, beat, E. All right, so we're going to go change these filter frequencies. The new values here are going to be 270 and 2290. So we'll change this one to 270. And same for the low pass filter at 270. And then we'll go into F2 and we'll set these to 2290. Okay. There we go. So same thing here. I'm going to unmute the speaker and make some adjustments and see if I can pull out that E sound as in beat or beef. I think that works for now. I heard some strange harmonics coming out of there, so I'm not sure what was causing that. Maybe because the center frequency on this one is so low, I might need to turn that resonance down a little bit. But for now, I've just kind of backed off the F1 frequency. Let me just make sure that still sounds good. Yeah, I think that's good. So let's go in and hard code those frequencies. Or not the frequencies, but the levels. So we've got 0.114 here. Go ahead and clear out A1. We'll set this to 0.114. And for F2, we're at 0.583. Still make sure this sounds like we expect. All right, sounds good. So we will save this as new file, and we'll call this EE. Oops. EE. EE-beat. You know, I should probably also rename these. Okay, cool. So I think we're almost there. Really, we've got an ah sound and we've got an e sound, and really all we need to do is kind of set up something to morph back and forth between those at this point, right? Let's see, where are we here? We're on the top level. We've got an aliasing saw, and I think what we'll want to do here at this point, we can go ahead and remove this. And at this point, I think we can insert actually, let's go ahead and clear the chain. Let's go ahead and insert another new custom unit. Crazy Velvet. So on the previous custom units, I used some sample looper recorders and some sample players to kind of move the signal around. I'm going to do it the other way this time, and I'm just going to put in a linear control to sort of represent my incoming signal. But you could do this, you know, either way, and there are advantages and disadvantages to both. I guess the advantage of this way being this is probably more CPU friendly, but it's a little more awkward because you kind of have to inject your signal from the top, so this kind of has to go on its own chain or something. But we're going to just do it this way to keep the video short. I'm going to add a linear control, and I'm going to call this one in for input. And I'm going to add one more control, another linear control, and we'll call this morph. So on my input here, we'll go ahead and set the gain to 1. And here's where we'll come in and we'll just kind of create our source signal, which for this I'm just going to use the aliasing saw once again. We'll just set it at 100 Hertz like we had it before. Alrighty, and morph, let's see. We'll also set the gain on this to 1. Let's just leave that alone for now. So we'll come in here. So essentially we've got, we want to have our, we want to have 3 mixers here, right? Actually, I guess we just need 2 mixers. We need one with our ah sound and one with our e sound. And actually, I think I already put those inside of a mixer. They were just inside of a custom unit, weren't they? All right, so we'll just go ahead and put a single mixer here. And we'll come in here and we'll grab our input signal. And let's see, what we'll do here is, so we've got this coming in. Let's go ahead and put in a custom unit. And for this one, we will load up our ah sound. Yep, good. And one thing I want to do is come into the end of this chain, and I'm going to put in one more Unipolar VCA. So that'll set the level at 0. So let's see, let's have be the one that's at the bottom. So we'll go ahead and turn this up to 1. So that'll kind of let the full signal pass through. And I want to control this with morph, which is way back up here at the top. So let me set this, this will be at the bottom at, let's put this at -1. And what I want to do is have open when morph is at -1. So we'll come in here and we'll select to control this with, uh-oh. Why can't I see that there? Interesting. Okay, I guess we'll have to do this a little bit differently. Let me clear this out. Where are we at here? We're inside of our custom unit Crazy Velvet. We're inside of our mixer channel. I can see the input here. So I guess my VCA is actually going to have to go after this. So let me delete this so that we're able to see it. So we'll put the VCA right here. And we'll set its gain to be -1. And we'll control this. Should be able to see it in here now. Yeah, with morph. So that should give me a level of 1. Cool. And we'll come in here and we'll insert a second mixer channel. And inside here, we'll do the same thing and we'll grab our input. And we'll insert a custom unit. And for this one, we're going to load up the other vowel sound, which was, gosh, where did it go? E beat. And same thing here, we'll put in a VCA. And for this one, we will assign this to be controlled with morph. But this one we're going to give a gain of 1. So let's take morph, and I'm going to assign that back. I've still got the offset hooked up over here, coming off the frames. So we'll grab A1. It's going from -1 value up to 0. I think we're going to need a little more gain here. Let's go ahead and get it up to 2. I think that's pretty close. All right, let's unmute, hear what we got. Cool. I don't want to do that by hand, so actually let's come in here and instead of A1, clear that out, and let's just put a sine wave in here. And we'll set this down to the low frequency range. And let's go ahead and bring its level up to 1. And that should be modulating my morph now. And let's unmute, see what that sounds like. All right, cool. Wow, that video went 30 minutes. That was a pretty long one. So thanks for sticking with me. Hope you enjoyed that, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.